A is for Alcoholic is a program about recovery. My name is John and I'm an alcoholic.
And my name is Jerry and I'm an alcoholic.
Join us as we go through the alphabet of alcoholism one letter at a time.
Well, I'm glad that you're feeling slightly better.
It was messed up, dude. I haven't had heartburn in years, not since I lost weight. And then I woke up in a hotel room at the Hilton, just bloated, like way bloated where I could see it, and like full of gas and pain and like heartburn. And then like I have all this weakness, and like I had to walk down to the lobby to get Pepto because I don't carry Pepto with me anymore because I'm not a drunk fucking asshole. Like I don't, like when I was drunk, my bag was always like, if we went on vacation, my bag was always a bottle of ibuprofen and a bottle of Pepto, like always, no questions asked. And then like a tin full of antacids. That was like my go-to. Like I would carry Tums around in my pocket, like a roll of Tums. I don't know if you ever went through that in your life, but
yeah, I mean, I think I just fucking fought through it. I don't think
I would get bad, dude. I'd wake up like choking on the bile. Like I'd aspirate on it at night, you know, because I had just worn away all the lining of my esophagus from whiskey. So I was like ready with the roll of Tums. Like it was like it'd be a pack of cigarettes, a Zippo, and a roll of Tums. I'd be like, yo, you want a Tums, baby? You know, you go in the bar, instead of lighting your cigarette, you just pop a Tums out. Ready?
Yes.
Got the minty ones today. So I had to go down the lobby and get Pepto and wait in line. And the way hotels, even in the wasteland of Arizona, the hotels are working like limited capacity for like food and stuff, right? So that's my laundry service, my mom. That's how I'm rolling in my 40s.
Nice.
But so they do all the food at the gift shop. So they're like, just like, okay, our continental breakfast is basically just bagels. And that's it. So I was in a line. I had to stand in line, and like I just kept. I'm glad we're having this one today because I just have these flashbacks yesterday of like what it used to be like. And I know you and I come back to the hangovers over and over again, and it's such a weird concept now because we don't experience a thing like that anymore very often. No, but within this weird passing of this illness or food poisoning or whatever it was I had, like that's the first time I've experienced anything like that. And it was really interesting. There were a couple of layers to it, right? Because the first layer was like, wow, I remember this feeling of being incapacitated to some extent, like to have that slight feeling of incapacitation. Then the other feeling in me was this grit. I felt like I had grit. Like I was like, I'm tough. I can get through this because I've gotten through some of the worst hangovers in the world ever invented. So yes, I could do this. Like I'd shit in a bathroom with no door on the stall or on the bathroom, like in a bar in the middle of the day. Like,
yeah,
I probably threw up too. You know what I mean? Like I can weather anything. And I know that's not my rock bottom. That's just the one I can pull from right now. I was sitting in there, that bar in Seattle where you and Coda were getting the schooners. You know what I'm talking about? It's in Ballard.
Yeah, called the Sloop.
The Sloop. So the bar has no doors in the bathroom. It's just one of those doors that you walk in and take a right, and there's the bathroom, right? So you're kind of hidden
because they're discouraging the taking a number two. They're discouraging.
Then you walk up to the stall, just flat out has no door. There's just no door, and it's a urinal in a stall with no door. And man, that was a rough day. I raw, dude, just out there in the world, just putting on my performance. You know, it was. And like hungover, you know, with those hangover guts, and nauseous, and like holding a beer, just to at least add some levity to it. Like, yeah, I got a pint of beer in my lap, so just hanging out. That was bad, man. That was a bad day, you know. And so yesterday I was like laying in that bed. How many hotel rooms have you woken up and hung over it? Do you know what I mean?
All of them.
All of them.
You know what I mean? Like if I was in a hotel room, I was drinking. Right. I was drunk. The whole point of the trip, wherever I was at, was to get hammered
in a different place than you were before.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So it was definitely, there was a couple of things going on there within, you know, that weird ill space. You know, you get sick and you live in that space of being sick, you know? And so I was thinking about that a lot yesterday and today.
Yeah. You were talking about hangovers, and the one that popped in my head was one, again, I was traveling. I had come down to Eugene to visit you, So this
I was there for
probably
it.
like 2004 or 5 or something like that. And it was back at the Portland. I was in the Portland train station. I had to transfer from the bus to the train to get back up to Seattle, and just sitting on those hard wooden benches that are at a 90-degree angle. They're almost like at an 89-degree angle.
I know, that discourage you from sleeping. Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my God, this fucking feels horrible. And like having no money for beer, no money for, I think I had like a triangle sandwich, you know what I mean? And a bottle of water, maybe.
Yeah. Me and Coda drove you. I could smell you in the car, dude. You like put a cloud out in the car. And then we took you to Carl's Jr. and bought you a Famous Star or something. And we were sitting in the Carl's Jr. And you're like, I don't even know if I can eat this. And I was like, just wrap it up, put it in your pocket. And you're like, I don't want to put it in my pocket, dude.
You remember that? Yeah.
I remember it very clearly because me and Coda dropped you off and Coda went, man, I feel bad for who has to sit next to Johnny.
Oh God,
it was just coming off you like you were sweating it out. That was that whole weekend that another friend of ours showed up, and you and her were like really intent on getting a McRib.
Yes,
y'all were like, the McRib is back, and I kept telling you guys were like Superman's enemies in Superman 2. Like,
yes,
yeah, that you were like, you were General Zod or something.
Yes. What was that? It was that apartment. You had a different apartment that I'd only been in that one time.
It was,
and that's
29th and Willamette. Yeah.
Yeah. And we watched 300, and we played that video game where Otis kept calling, and like Coda would be like, Otis be calling you.
Yeah, I can't remember what
game.
I think it was a zombie game.
There was some dude named Otis just kept getting you on the phone, and you had to answer. And I was like, stop it. I don't want to fucking talk to Otis right now.
I forgot what that was. Otis be calling me.
It was a zombie game. I don't know, but I was,
so that was that whole weekend. And you sit on the train.
Right.
I've been there in that position so many times. Like, I've spent more time in that position than I have in this position now, where I'm just like, I'm not going to shit my pants today.
Yeah.
I know this is just a rough way to start the pod, but
I mean, this is the reality, right? This is one of the things. So, welcome to A's for Alcoholic.
Hello.
Hello. This is going to be our last official show for a little while. There's going to be a couple more in here. We've got a couple movie reviews. I'm still going to be doing interviews and stuff like that. Yeah. But, and it's not like it's going away forever, I don't think. But Jerry has a lot on his plate. I'm taking this writer's workshop right now that I have to spend at least the next 2 weeks doing nothing but this.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as we're done here, I have to jump back into reading and writing. And there's other parts of the workshop that are on Zoom and virtual that I have to go to. And Wagner's got a kid to get into school. Got to move
into a new place.
There's, however much painting and stuff to get done.
I've got mural jobs coming up. Yeah.
Right. So I don't want anyone to think that we're not out there, and then I probably won't be posting, I haven't been posting on Instagram that much anyway, because I've just been busy.
Yeah.
But, it's just going to be less because we need to take a step back from this. And I think too, and I'm pretty sure that Jerry can agree with me that for our own sake of enjoying this and getting something out of it, like, no, seriously.
I know. That's why I'm laughing.
That for us to come up here every week and have to come up with some different perspective or angle on something. And it's like, I feel the same way, where I'm just like, didn't we already go over this shit? Didn't we already talk about this shit? And, I mean, part of it is just us chatting, and that's great too. But, I want it to be a positive experience for me. And it hasn't always been, right? I mean, we've had shows where we're like, I don't know about that one, or just let's get through this.
Yeah. Going through them motions. Yeah. But it's also part of the funny thing about this is it's been reflective of our friendship. Do you know what I mean? It's been years, but it follows the same course of long-term relationship between friends goes, like, most of the time we have common glue and we see eye to eye, and sometimes it's not so hot. The only thing we haven't done is had like a major falling out, which we don't it's not really capable for us to do that because we got our little tools in our tool belt now from the program. You know what I mean?
It's true. I mean,
It is. If I'm having, if I'm just honest and open with you about things and not mean, and you're honest and open with me about things and not mean, then okay, cool. We can figure this out,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, those tools alone, if I had not had them, or if we were still drinking, it would be very easy for me to take everything that you said out of context and take offense and be, you know what I mean? And
yeah. Or just not do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Or we would just wouldn't do it anymore. You'd just be like,
So, I think that being said, and going forward, and those people who are our patrons on Patreon, there will be some shows coming out. They're just not going to be, they're going to be interview shows that I'm doing with other people.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be the couple of movie reviews that we have already done, and we may do another one or two. But honestly, it's been 3 years that we've been doing this, and I think it's really important to kind of take the summer off. And
new format. We'll have a new theme song. New format. No, and I'd like to get either a podcasting, my wife's office, once we get in the new place, set up a little better for podcasting, or at least get my own laptop, because I just work off of her computer too. So she'll be doing real estate stuff, and then I'm like, yo, shove over. I got to fucking talk about being an alcoholic for an hour and a half or whatever. She was just watching was binging that show, the Mrs. Maisel, the wonderful Mrs. Maisel. It's pretty damn funny. I watched it all day yesterday in a fever, in and out of being fever wild. Yeah. But she was just watching that now, and I'm like, oh, I got a podcast. And she's like, very sweet though, gathered up her stuff. And, I love you. But, she was, she was deep in that right now.
Right. She's like, hey, see, let me tell you about the men. See, why don't you put an egg in your shoe and beat it? See,
it's a pretty funny show, actually. Yeah. But something like that.
Something like that. I've never seen it. That's my impression of the show. I've never seen it.
It's like a 50s gangster doing stand-up.
Yeah. So I mean, I say that up front, not to disappoint or alienate anybody. But I mean, shit changes, right? And I had my dream when we first started this was it's going to blow up and explode, and it's going to afford us to be able to do it full time. And by full time, I mean once a week. And you have all these ideas of how it's going to happen. And, I mean, it certainly has not done that. And, I mean, I'm grateful that I've been able to do it and not have to pay for it. Right.
Yeah. Dude.
In the beginning, it was paying for it every month. So, but part of the workshop that I'm taking now is so that I can work on this A is for Alcoholic book that's been shelved for however many years, that Jerry did the paintings for twice. And it was funny because one of the things that they were talking about, submitting manuscripts, and I had to email Mishka personally, and I said, look, you said no pictures, no photos, and I said this is an illustrated project. I can't do it without it, because if I do it without it, it seems like it doesn't seem right. It would be like, what the fuck are you trying to say?
Doesn't hit the same. Yeah.
It doesn't hit the same. And I was like, the whole point was that it was revolving around these illustrations. And so he looked at it and he's like, that's great. Perfect. Keep it in. So, there's 11 different people who are going to be looking at this thing. And I'm going to be sitting in, I don't want to say judgment, but sitting in judgment for an hour tomorrow or however long it is. About all of the things that are wrong with it.
Yeah. Or all the things that are right with it.
Well, yeah. I mean, they talked, and one of the things that was discussed, and I think that people are still, I mean, I find it hard to just be critical of people's work. Right. But that it's not helpful to just say, oh, this was great. This was lovely. So I've been trying to be more specific with it, and I hope that people are too. So, yeah, all of that is happening. Not to mention I have a full-time job, and I'm trying to get this book off the ground. And so if and when you see less of us this summer, understand that we are working on our just living our lives and trying to figure shit out. And, that doesn't mean that the work doesn't stop in sobriety and recovery, right? Because it's like,
oh no, I'm still gonna be in recovery regardless of the podcast. It's all
Right.
AIFA summer break,
Summer
it's like
break.
weekend at Bernie's, but we're just dragging Walter around. I don't know
Miami
why.
Beach. Yeah.
Just,
So yeah, and I know that we harken back to the idea of the hangover, but it's absolutely the most visceral reminder whenever I am sick or unwell or even get a headache, and I'm like, fuck, this is, I know where have I felt this before? And I'm like, okay, well, I didn't do it. I didn't drink, so it had to be something else. And whatever it is, but that sickness is, so it's something I think that everybody can relate to. Like when you talk about, you're like, I felt so bloated in the hotel room and I could see it.
man. I walked by in the mirror and I could see, like, I thought I
Mhm.
could see it, but I'm also, I got that body dysmorphia pretty good too, though. So
Yeah.
yeah, but it's the gastrointestinal stuff is just such a flashback. It really is flashbacks to that, It just reminds me of that. And then you mix it with a headache, and I'm like, wow, what have I done? And people are, it's for my sister's birthday. She's in her 40s now. I don't know how old. She's 43, I think, or 42. She doesn't drink like she does. She just has never drank. My sister drank a little bit in high school, but she's like, nah, this doesn't work for me. It's gross. It makes me feel gross. She doesn't drink. I think she smokes pot every once in a while, if that, not even anymore. I think it was during her like high school drinking beers days that she smoked pot. So, and her husband drinks like on occasion, but nobody really drank. I mean, there was beer there and shit. People had brought cocktails. That's just as part of the thing. We're going to have a party. We're going to bring cocktails, but so I wasn't around a drunk environment. I ate way more sugar than I should have, though. I like crushed some tres leches cake, dude.
Oh man.
Oh,
but that was good.
I just nothing like a really wet cake, dude. I love wet cake. Yeah.
When it's just soaking in that milk in the bottom of the pan. Yeah.
I just love wet cake. But yeah, so all in all, I mean, and it was like 115 in Phoenix yesterday. We're in this crazy heat wave. It was like 110 here in Tucson. It's supposed to hit 110 today. So, and I haven't left the house. I went outside once to grab something and I felt like absolute garbage being out there. So,
oh man. Well, I mean, are you able to, I guess you haven't yet, but are you going to be getting up earlier to kind of get outside? Or
last week I ran twice last week in the weights 3 times a week. It's because I flip flop it in between. Some days, 1 week I'll run 3 times a week, lift weights 2 days. Then another day I'll run. Do you know what I mean? Like I'll lift weights 3 days. I would do a 5-day routine. But anyway, I was getting up at 5 a.m. and leaving the house at like right at 6, like 5:45, 6. Yeah. Cause I have to wake up, get dressed, put in my contact lenses, and then, drink my coffee and do my stretches. So yeah. But even at 5:45, you're already hitting like 75, 78 degrees,
Yeah.
Like it's almost 80. Yeah. And running in 85 degrees, it doesn't seem bad, but for some reason it's rough here, dude, because there's no shade. There's no shade in the desert, dude.
That's exactly what it is, because I know that when it's 85 out there, I'm like, that's not that bad. And I go out there and I'll do it. It's not as easy as 70 degrees or 75, but I go out there and do it. But there's lots of trees, so it's like I can sneak around the trees and all that stuff. And cactuses are not really, they don't really offer.
There's
shade.
nothing. The mesquite trees are so sparse, the sun just beats through it. So in Eugene, I had a track I ran every time. And so on the sunnier days, I would run the opposite side of the track because I knew that's where all the trees were growing. So I could start off in the shade. Do you know what I mean? Or I would run it the other way where I'd start off in the heat and go around the shade on sunny days. But here, I'm on the side of the road in the sand, just running until I get to the trail, and the trail is no trees,
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's been early morning runs. I don't know if I'll be able to run. I don't know. I might have to treadmill it with a fan.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. That's fucking hardcore. That's painful.
Dude, the new place we're moving to, I know this isn't really recovery talk, but the new place we're moving to is 35 miles southeast of here. It's still in Tucson, because Tucson's a huge town. It's almost 1 million people. We're at something like 800,000. I think proper without the outside neighborhoods, it's like 500,000. And then when you start adding the other outside neighbor, it was like Seattle. You know, Seattle, they told you, oh, there's only like 800,000 people living in Seattle, but then it turns out to be like 2 million once you add everybody in.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. But anyways, 35 miles southeast of here. And there's nice, long, flat trails. Like when you come to visit me in like the fall, winter, and I'd recommend.
Yes.
The trails are great, man. It's just flat and straight and beautiful vistas, and all you can see is mountains and shit. But there's nothing. I mean, it's just a concrete strip. And then flat desert all the way out till a mountain range, you know? So, and I'll be moving there early mid-July. So I'll be out there running in August going like, what the fuck have I done, dude? You know?
Is that, are you dealing with that feeling, that sentiment right now? Like, what the fuck have I done? I mean,
since like January, dude, it's been like once a day. It's hard. But it's growing on me. Yeah. I had this like sea change where I had to learn how to accept it. Acceptance, right? I have a very difficult time with acceptance. I do. And me not accepting things can last months. And
Sure.
I just beat myself up over it, and I just build resentments, and I make myself so unhappy, and I make the process so much longer because I can't accept it. And then I have to sit down and do like, this is going to sound, no, it's not going to sound corny in context. I'll do like 100 fucking serenity prayers throughout 3 days and then realize, oh shit. You know, my mom told me that's the only way she got through her chemo was she did serenity prayers all day long. Cause she's like, what else can I do? I can't I can't change this thing. So I have to accept it. And so I made the active decision to came here and things changed radically multiple times in a row, which is that's just reality. So I had to learn to accept it. I had to just fucking embrace it and let go of all the shit that was making me feel bad. I mean, it's still there a little bit sometimes. Like I'll get up and be like, fucking 105. Are you kidding me? This is stupid. Like I miss Oregon. I miss the smell and I miss all that shit. But like, this is where my path is going right now. I pulled myself in this direction. I changed the things I had the power to change or whatever.
Well, and you did it for reasons.
I had the courage to change the things I can and ended up in Arizona.
And
I was like, and now I'm like, now I got to accept the things I cannot change because I'm here and that can't be changed. So
I think to live in Arizona, you need to be a little courageous, don't you?
You have to have something, right? Like snake boots and and a strong stomach apparently. Because every time I move here, I always end up getting fucking food poisoning.
Yeah. Well, you just, it's wild to me. I mean, that's just where, and again, you're like, this is where my life has led me. And I think about my situation right now, right? Like I'm not going to live here forever. At some point, something's going to change. I'm going to be either forced out or find something, or, perhaps now is the time to make another choice and another path. I don't know, but, and then I'll be somewhere else and I'll be dealing with different things, and I'll have to like, it fucking sucks when it's 105 or 118 for Christ's sake, but that's all you can do is you can accept it or you can resist it. And when I resist it, I'm fucking miserable. And when I accept it, I'm not always not miserable. Do you know what I mean? But but it's the misery is a little bit softer, right?
It's not alleviated, but it's gentler. Yeah, exactly.
So I'm dealing with the gentle misery of acceptance.
That's a great way of putting it. It's like the gentle misery, the soft push of it, the soft clawing of acceptance, because the way I think about it is like, not just in my alcoholism, but I think the part of my psychology, the part of my, I don't know what the word, my pathology, I think that's a negative way of putting it, but part of the way my mind works, I think has led me into alcoholism and is also, affected by my alcoholism. And I think a lot of people have this, is you always have the overarching big problems, right? You'll always have the big unsolvable, and it's like a big umbrella. And once the big unsolvable kind of alleviates or even gets solved or solves itself, you get the next big unsolvable. And then under that umbrella, there's 8 million other little tiny problems, 8 million other little dramas and mishaps and things that are frustrating. Do you know what I mean? And those things, they either resolve quickly or they take a longer period of time, over a period of weeks or whatever. But I feel like there's always those big overarching things that I need to deal with. And that's what working a program and getting sober and going into recovery was me dealing with trying to deal with those big overarching problems, because eventually they cover everything. They just affect every single thing. So it was like my impatience or my sense of non-acceptance. Those are kind of the bigger ones, that's that big arc that I'm always dealing with. And then within that big arc, it's like, well, what is Jerry not accepting today or this week or this month, And so then you got to look at all those little things and just kind of assess them and kind of, resolve them in whatever way they need to be resolved, or you live with them. Yeah. And you accept the things you cannot change, and you have to live with that, and just be like,
and you can be critical of yourself without being judgmental, right?
Absolutely.
This is
yes.
a different
way healthier.
I've been thinking about lately in the last few days. Is just like, it's okay to be critical, right? Because again, with this workshop, like I'm being asked to be critical of people's work, but it doesn't mean I have to be judgmental or go like, this is shit. I'm just like, I want to understand this. This is why I don't understand it. What the hell are you trying to say here? This doesn't make any sense. Rather, for this to make sense, I need this information, or I need to see it in this way. And then I would understand it better, because that's my ultimate goal, is to understand what's going on in front of me, whether it be on the page or in life. So it's like, okay, what are the things that I can change about my daily routine or the way that I look at the world or my recovery, sobriety? Do I need to reassess something else? And then I'll feel better. And then I will feel the gentle misery of acceptance.
The gentle petting.
I forgot I wanted to tell you. So I wanted to tell you the story, get your perspective on this story. We had this new kid working at the restaurant the other night. He's like 16, right?
Oh, little guy.
And I get this note from the host that somebody at one of the tables has an alcohol allergy. And I kind of chuckled to myself, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there could be a genuine where he's like, yes, I have an allergic reaction to alcohol and I will die. And I'm like, well, me too. I don't know how quick yours is, but you know, like,
exactly. It's not mine's not quite anaphylaxis, but yeah.
Right. So, and I don't know what it is, and it's really none of my business. It's my job just to make sure that no alcohol gets on this person's plate or in their glass or whatever. So, you know, I bring him a lemonade and, you know, tell him that, you know, if you're going to get the duck confit, those cherries are poached in red wine. So that's a choice you can make here and now. I don't know how bad it is. And at one point, the kid says to me, he overhears the host talk about the alcohol allergy. And he's like, I didn't know you could be allergic to alcohol. And I was like, oh yeah, it's a real thing. And I didn't say much more. I was like, it's absolutely a real thing. And he's like, really? An allergy? Because he wouldn't have it. What did he say? Like, it's not that it's we would just call you a pussy.
Yeah.
Like, okay, yeah. I mean, but it's a real thing. And so it was just this, like, in the 16-year-old kid's head, if I say I have an allergic reaction to alcohol, he's like, you're a pussy. So it's like this sign of weakness, to not be able to drink. And I mean, as much as we live in a bubble of recovery and sobriety and all this other stuff, it's still out there to high school kids about, like, it's fucking tough and cool to drink.
Oh, it'll always be that way. That's the culture that makes it. It'll always be that way. And listen to trap music.
I don't.
Me neither, really.
Except for the Chapo Trap House theme song, which I have downloaded so I can listen to it, you know, separately.
Fucking dork. That's awesome.
But I'll put it.
But I'm like, yo, this song's kind of the cut, though, dude.
It's kind of the cut.
Who is it? Gucci Mane?
Yeah. I have it. I have it downloaded,
but,
so I can listen to it. But it was just funny that the kid
16-year-old kids. Yeah, a 16-year-old kid's gonna think that just because you got hair in your nuts don't mean you're a grown up. You know. Yeah, you're just trying to figure it out.
Is that Gucci Mane too?
That's Jerry Maine.
Jerry Maine.
Yeah. But I mean, I know adults who are like that. I know
Uh-huh.
grown men who are like, "I fucking pussy,
Yeah.
what, you don't drink? I don't trust another man." I was telling you about that last week or the week
Mhm.
before. Never trust a man that doesn't drink.
Yeah,
I guess, dog. Like, that's what
but that's just total bullshit. It's just total bullshit. It's not
but
like there's no value to for me. There's no value in that of like, I mean, again, it wouldn't matter if somebody drank or not. I know lots of people who drink that I would probably trust. I know lots of people who don't drink that I would probably trust, right?
Mhm.
That's not a prerequisite. And I didn't really, it wasn't my place to have the conversation with the kid. I didn't want to like grab him by his fucking collar and be like,
give
you
a
don't
fuck
understand.
anyway.
It's life or death, kid.
It's life or death out here.
And go fucking bust table 22.
You pussy.
You pussy. Yeah, you know, like.
But he doesn't know. He's a little kid. That's how
Right.
him and all his friends, they're all children. I mean, what did you do at 16?
Fucking drank.
I know you said some dumbass shit to somebody at 16 because
yeah.
I said tons of dumb shit to adults. And
Mhm.
the adults were good like you. They had low grades. They were just like, okay, stupid. You
Yeah,
know, like,
basically.
yeah.
So
how funny that is, though. But no, it'll always be pervasive. And I like what you're saying, though, is I agree with that. You and I were kind of in a bubble. We're kind of in a little dome of not, well, big dome, but we're under, another umbrella.
The dome gets bigger. It's getting bigger and bigger every year, I think.
Yeah.
And, it's getting more accepting. And you just tons and tons of articles about, sober curious and being sober and, the shit about the pandemic. And it really has exposed a lot of these things. And I don't think anyone's interested in Amy Schumer's Bud Light commercial for the Super Bowl anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I don't even think about that. That happened. I didn't even, because of COVID, but even without COVID, I don't think about those things. Dude, I watched TV in the hotel room because I was sitting there feeling like shit.
Oh, you had actual cable.
There was actual direct TV. I haven't had cable in since before the podcast. I haven't had cable. And I forgot about how stupid TV is. It's fucking stupid. There's nothing I want to watch. Like, I don't give a fuck about Ice Road Truckers. 24-hour Ice Road Truckers marathon, like I don't, none of it. I couldn't find any. I think I found like Impractical Jokers that night, and that was kind of funny, but then I was like,
this is
stupid. Same thing, the commercials is just it's just part of culture, man. It's what it is.
Such trash. It's such trash. And I like to watch trashy shit too, I mean, I like to just not, but I mean, does anybody fucking give a shit about commercials? And like, and especially like booze and beer. And it just feels more, the more I read about it and the more that I see it, I'm like, it's really insidious. And I have a harder time being sort of like, oh, alcohol's just that inert object, that inert liquid.
Right.
I'm like, I know that it is technically in the bottle, but it's so insidious the way that it is pushed and shoved and marketed. And
but that's all of it, though. It's insidious. I don't want to get too socialist on you here, but that's just how they push capitalism. It's insidious how they push anything.
Yeah,
they tell you need all these things. There are things you need to survive to be a human on this planet and not die from exposure, but then everything else they push on you is not necessary. It's just all accessories to affectation and stuff. I don't know, man. I was just in Phoenix, Arizona, which is pretty much one big ass fucking Buffalo Wild Wings, dude. Like, it's all Buffalo Wild Wings culture. It's all just, you know what it is? It's all, oh man, I don't want to do this on this podcast. It's just mediocre shit. You know what I'm saying? It's just mediocre white culture. And I know people get turned off by that, and I don't even apologize.
I don't think
I know you get turned off because you haven't been to Phoenix.
But I mean, I don't think you need to apologize. I think it's at this point,
it's just status quo, dude. It's just so status quo. And like you said, it's that insidious marketing of alcohol to escape that feeling of status quo and that mundane feeling of life where it's just the same fucking thing over and over again. So you go and get loaded. You go and get loaded with the friends. Your wife has a couple Trulies. You drink some fucking Buds or whatever. Anybody's Coors. I guess they're all drinking Coors. But even when I was drinking, I felt the same way. I didn't drink like they drank, John.
No,
I didn't crush 24 Bud Lights, John. I was, you know what I mean? I was an individual in my alcoholism.
Right. You were an individual. Mm,
You know what I'm saying though? Like, yeah,
do.
I drink Evan Williams. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Label.
much. I am
Bottom
defined
of the
by what I
barrel.
drink, and I am unique and special. And I mean, yeah, and I think that part of the whole idea of initially the whole idea of recovery and getting sober was because I just didn't want to fucking be in pain and I didn't want to die. There was there was nothing about it that I was like, I need to change my identity. I need to be a better person. I need to expand my horizons. There was none of that.
No.
It wasn't until I started to get sober where I was like, oh, okay, now I want to do more and be better. And I start to see these things and I'm like, I don't want that mediocrity. I'm not interested in that. I'm not better than it by far. I'm probably fucking worse in many, many ways, but it helps me to look for better ways to spend my time. And again, or there's nothing wrong with fucking watching TV, right? I mean,
yeah, if you want to, if you like Ice Road Truckers, more power. If it makes you happy,
if it makes you happy, watch it.
I just think it's silly. It's not my thing.
Right. But I mean, that's fine. I just think that if for me, it was about survival, or at least not feeling like hell, not feeling bloated and sick and hungover all the fucking time.
Right. And guilty.
But now 6 years on, I'm like, okay, so how can I be better? And I talked about this in the workshop this morning, and I'm not going to talk about anybody else, but something that occurred to me was that I had spent 20 years creating a life that I hated.
Yeah.
So drinking, I created this life that I hated, not just the drinking, but also I didn't spend my time expanding my horizons. I didn't spend my time learning anything new. I found a job that would support my drinking, and that was it. And I was fine. Right.
Yeah.
And so once I got sober, now this will be 6 years. It'll be 6 years next month, which is a big fucking deal. 7 years for you.
Yeah.
I am now like, okay, I've still been kind of living a lot of this life that I hate, whether it be the job or the way that I behave or the way that I'm, how I feel about myself, my body, my mind, etc., my money, all that stuff. And so now it's like, oh, okay, I need to do things to help cultivate a life that I love to live.
Right.
And that took a while to get there. It's 6 years on, and I'm now not just now doing it, but now I'm working on that. And so it's I guess what I'm saying is that it's on the board behind me. Recovery is what did I say? A process of expansion and not restriction. And so I'm looking for that larger, bigger expansion. And so I think that's something that everybody should at some point in their recovery and or sobriety look for. I mean, when I think about you in the tattoo shop in Eugene, and just like you were sober, you were recovered or recovering.
Yeah.
It was a thing that we talked about every single week.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
And so, I feel like the next level is, okay, so let's start building this life that I can like. Doesn't even have to be that I love it, but that I like it. And so the other thing is that quitting drinking was something I did for myself. I didn't do it for anybody else.
Right.
Or at least not the motivations that stuck, and the reasons that I kept doing it was because I did it for myself. I didn't do it because somebody asked me to. Nobody asked me to. Everybody just left.
Yeah, nobody. You're right. Yeah, nobody asked you to. Yeah, nobody asked me to either. It just
right, and it just
happened. We're very similar. It just had to happen.
And so now I look at again, taking a writing workshop, spending all that money and investing
Mhm.
all this time. The hope is that it will help me to build a life that I want to live
Well, yeah,
rather
you're taking a
than
class, right? So you're learning
learning something.
something.
Mm-hmm. Right. You know, maybe you with the murals. And I know that like it was challenging and it kind of came up in a way that you were not expecting, and you're working with somebody else. And so there's all these other challenges. It's not necessarily something you don't want to do. You're
Yeah,
just not used to it. And so you're like,
yeah,
oh, now I got to work this way. And so there's fucking resistance. And you're like, oh man, okay, how do I deal with this resistance? Well, what are the tools?
yeah.
So
Acceptance.
acceptance.
Big one. Acceptance. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's a next step kind of thing for me in this whole, in just life in general. It honestly has not much to do with sobriety and alcoholism, other than I have spent over half my life fucking drunk. So I still have to get out from under the shadow of that. And that may take
Mm-hmm.
another 20 years, if
It
ever.
may, yeah. Or the
You know?
process in of itself of doing it may be the fulfilling thing you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Right.
so like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
I
the
don't know
process
either.
of doing it. It just kind of living life. That's the,
Mm-hmm.
I think the best part of recovery for me so far is just living life.
Right.
I get to actually live the life instead of just, jump from fucking drunk to drunk to drunk,
Mm-hmm.
and worry about drunk and have my prep kit and be like, yo, I can't go anywhere unless I got my Tums in the car and my Pepto in the bag. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, dude. Oof.
It's just miserable. It's
Yeah,
absolutely
dude.
miserable.
Requires too much prep work,
Mm-hmm. God damn. I mean, I think about all the time that it takes me to little things, like when I get ready for work and I have to go through and I do the little checklist of stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
make sure I have everything, and I do, what we call in the restaurant uh, business, mise en place, everything in its own place.
Uh-huh.
So all this stuff. And I remember waking up with like so little time to get ready, and I'd have to drive to work. And
Yeah.
I would fucking just throw it all together, take a shower, throw it all together, be so fucking hazy and bloodshot eyes. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
driving to work, and I have to drive like 25 minutes to work. And I'm thinking, just don't fucking crash and stay on the line. Don't crash into the car to the left.
Mm-hmm.
Never like making a breakfast. I would just drive through McDonald's and sometimes either fucking eat it in the McDonald's parking lot
Yeah.
and then drive off, or trying
Mm-hmm.
to eat like a quarter pounder while I'm driving
Oh,
with
yeah.
one eye, just so hungover, thinking if I can just get to work and get behind the bar and I can find a way to pour myself a shot of well vodka, I'll be okay for tonight.
Click right in. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I don't do that anymore.
Yeah. You take that one shot of well vodka and it's all, can't you hear me knocking on your window? You're all clicked into place. You get all suave.
Basically.
Your collars come out over your
Mhm.
lapels and shit. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that was
do that
it.
fucking life. Yeah. So now you're just like, yeah, everything's what is it? Mise en place?
Mise en place. It's French
Mise en
for
place.
in its
Did
place.
you learn that from Walter? That sounds
Probably,
like a Walter
yeah.
factoid. Listen, I
Mhm.
brought him up a few times, but only because I think the TikToks you've been taking with him are fucking hilarious. It's
Do you
just
like
him
those?
pretending to be in the wind in slow motion. I don't know why. But the first one, I thought he was actually pretending to be stuck on the hood of your car while you were
Mhm.
driving. But I was like, that doesn't make much sense, though, because the world isn't moving. It's just him. And then I realized it was him holding on for dear life while the wind was blowing him away.
Right. And I mean, the song in the background was Windy by the Association, but I didn't like, I don't know. It was just
I
the
didn't
end.
know that. I thought
Well, it was just the tail end. I didn't want it to be too on the nose,
Mhm.
just a little bit on the nose, like on the cheek, not on the nose. But yeah, no, I mean, he's great, and he's hilarious. So that's why I always like to put him in there.
Dude.
Mise en place.
Everything in its place, John. It's French.
Everything in its place.
I didn't know that, but
Mhm. So I'm thinking, like, after this last year, and it's been so like fucking 2020, man.
yeah,
there
dude.
was a lot of stagnation, but it was also, I've used this phrase before and I'm going to use it again because I think it's really apropos, which is it's been a liminal time. It's been a liminal space.
Yeah.
Right. It's been a transitional space.
Mhm.
It's been hibernation. It's not the right word, maybe cocoon like, maybe, but for what? I don't know. We're always changing, we're always evolving. Where, you know, I think, was it Mark Maron or one of these people said, I don't remember who said it, but if we're not getting better, we're getting worse. So you're making a decision one way or the other. Right. And I feel like
Ricky Bobby.
It might be Ricky.
If you're not first, you're last.
If you're not first, you're last.
Yeah.
And I think that that's partially true because every day I decide about what to eat or whether or not to exercise or how to spend my time or how I spend my money. And those patterns turn into habits, and the habits become my fucking life. And so I'm trying to resurrect some of the tools of sobriety that I used to get sober, or some of the tools of recovery I used to get sober, so that I can move my life a little bit further forward.
Yes.
So,
I looked at 2020 like a big turd.
Tell me about it.
But it was a big turd that it was like fertilizer though. That's why I look at it.
Oh,
like I picture it like
good.
It's a big piece of shit, but there's a little plant sprouting out of it that could not have grown without that shit. So for me, it was this big change, but a new kind of thing happening. It's new and old at the same time.
Right.
Yeah. COVID sucked. A lot of people died. It broke my heart. Like, it made me really fucking sad a few times. Actually, the whole time I literally grieved. And I don't think a lot of people said that, but I did. I grieved. Like, it fucked me up, dude. Like, I would cry about it. It would fuck me up. But like, no one really talked about that. And no one really, I mean, not really, but no one really talked to anybody. I mean, we did on Zoom, but we're just all, what's up, fam? You know, like, but it was, it was like, not just a shitty year. It was horrible. It was traumatizing. And I don't think we pay that enough credence right now, because I think everybody is breathing relief that, you know, we don't have, we changed one old idiot for like a quieter old idiot. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, we changed the power structures. Now it's not the loud asshole to party. But it's still a guy who's definitely got some, doesn't matter. What I'm basically saying is, like, we're relieved because the urgency has kind of been pulled back, and now the numbers are starting to go down. I stayed in a fucking hotel. I went to a gathering of people. They all watched some MMA fight.
As long as it wasn't Magic the Gathering, Jerry, I think we're okay.
Apparently it was like food poisoning, the gathering.
Yeah, I mean, you stayed in a hotel. You slept in somebody else's sheets.
Yeah, dude. Those Hilton beds are really comfortable, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give them that. That's my ad for Hilton for the pod. Hilton, hit us up. We'll start right back up again next week, you know, but yeah, man, like for me, there was something new here though. There's something new here. And we dealt with some stuff, you know, we lost a house and now we had to scramble to rent a house. And do you know what I mean? Like, our dynamic changed. We've been in a very small space for about 6 months now. And these are all things that would have drove me to get fucked up in the past. And that wasn't my fallback this time, because I knew it would just make it worse. It wouldn't help it.
Right.
It would just hinder it and make it way worse. So, and on top of that, like, you know, new thing, just like you're taking these writing courses now, and you're kind of honing what your desires are and what you want to do with your life. You're honing it. Your hair is expanding instead of restricting. I mean, I saw your first fucking ponytail the other day. That shit was, I don't know. I don't know whether or not make fun of you or just say, just keep going at this point. Cause you look like a substitute teacher, dude.
Somebody else said I look like a divorced dad trying to fucking get back together with the kids, trying to reconnect. My wife left me to go stay with her mother and fucking
losing one at the fucking water park, dude. Like,
yeah. I don't know. Your dad was like, you should just keep growing it out, man.
That's what my dad said.
Yeah. And it was before you came on at the beginning.
Bald, man.
Yeah, well, and so I've either gotten, dude, it looks so great, or I said something to somebody. I said I was thinking about getting it cut, and they're like, "Oh man, I was really loving the John with long hair," and I was like, "Even with this?" And they're like, "Yeah, it's great." And then either people are like, "What are you doing, dude? Like, you need to get a fucking haircut."
it's my filter is different though. Like if I don't get my hair cut, I tried to grow my hair out for a year and a half, and nobody encouraged me. Everybody's like, "What the fuck have you done?" And I just like by all means just kept doing it. So you do you. If you look at it, you're like, you know what, I kind of like this look. It's all taste. It just I love making fun of you about it because I look at you now and I'm like, dang, you look like an old man, but not like not like old, like an infirmed elderly. You just look like a middle-aged dude.
And is that weird? Because I was doing this. No, well, I mean,
well, we're middle-aged dudes.
For me to think that I am at this point. I'm 44 and a half. I'm 45. I'll be 45 next year or
You're
whatever.
46, dude.
I'm 46, right? Like that's crazy because in my mind, in a lot of ways, I'm like still 29 or fucking 32 or something like that, you know?
I say do the ponytail. Fuck it. Get it long enough for a ponytail, dude.
I think I got a little one.
I think you should.
It's called a chump stump. I think it's.
I had one too. Remember we did the pod from the hotel room in Portland, and I had the little tiny, the coke exec. I was like the record exec who was like, "Yeah, you guys like cocaine or what?"
I want to read you. Speaking of looking at ourselves in the mirror and seeing ourselves age, and I wish I didn't know I was going to read this, but I wrote this little something, and I want to get your I like to get your opinion on this stuff because you don't pull any punches, and you always give me
kind of a dick. I try not to be.
I don't think you're a dick. I mean, everything you say is you from love, but also it's some shit is funny, right? Like sometimes cracking jokes are just funny. So the writing prompt was look in the mirror and tell me what you see.
Yeah.
So that's what this is. So I see a middle-aged man whose hairline recedes in stark contrast to the last 14 months of growth on the rest of his head. Where did the term dishwater blonde come from? Regardless, it fits. Beard trimmed but not defined, there is a definite Howard Hessman vibe being given off. More head of the class than WKRP in Cincinnati. Maybe a disheveled self-awareness. Gray-green eyes peer over the drugstore cheaters used to see the page. A slightly ruddy complexion from the California sun, and what has been described as a perfect nose. It does seem to be rounded and angled in all the right places, at least insofar as a Northern European beauty standards go. Slight jowls from slight jowls form on either side of his face, coalescing in a bit of loose skin just under the chin. A midsection that tells the world of the secret late night gobs of peanut butter and jelly straight from the jar. Bowls of popcorn and frozen blueberries hang over the waistband of his boxer briefs. A leg up on the countertop reveals the brightly colored calves that are bigger than his biceps. I see the man who was mistaken for someone's father at the market and laugh. I see the wrinkles and sleepless nights, but also the lines from laughter. I see what I have always felt, the deep dichotomy of a strange life. I also see the spots of toothpaste and water on the mirror and think it might be time to clean the bathroom.
Yeah. Damn.
Fairly accurate.
Yeah, very accurate, actually. Well, it's so much more accurate for you now than like if you had written that in 2012. Yeah. It almost reads like your eulogy.
But you know, like it's just weird getting old. I'm just getting older or getting older.
Yeah. Maybe that's what we should focus on once we start up again in the fall, is just like, listen, we're going to stick with the lettering format, but we're going to start talking about being middle-aged and in recovery.
A is for aging alcoholics.
A is for aging alcoholics. A is for my agita.
My agita. Yeah.
My arthritis.
But yeah, man, I would only say to people out there, I mean, obviously you can connect with us. You can always email me. I still check the emails. You know, we're both on Instagram. We're still there. So, I mean, it's not like we're going away. It's just, it's a much needed break, I think, for both of us to kind of.
Yeah. Like you said, is it 4 years, 3 years, or 4 years? 3 years. 3 years.
We started.
So how many times have we been through that? How many episodes are we at now? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, a lot.
How many times do you run through the alphabet in 3 years? You know, it's 26
6
once
times.
a week. 6 times.
6 times. So that's
a lot of episodes we've done. Yeah. I'm trying to do the math, but I don't want to.
Well, I mean, it's like 52 times 3. It's 150. 156 plus or minus all the interviews, probably around 200. So I don't know, I didn't keep track. I know.
So we got a library. If you just started listening to us and you're like, fuck, these guys are quitting, we're not quitting, we're just taking a long break, and on top of that, go back, there's 156 of them.
Right.
Good Lord. We probably talk about the same one, like the same, we probably do the same subject multiple times,
right? And I know that, like, if you're anything like me and you binge, you find something and you binge it, because I'll be like, oh, this is really good, I'll go back.
It's 156 hours though. That's a lot of binging.
Yeah, you got all summer to catch up.
Yeah. Maybe we'll just come back true crime podcast.
Yeah, you want to start doing that?
No.
No.
It depends. There's only one I listen to. That all the other ones are kind of ruined because of the one I listened to. So. Because the last podcast, I can't really listen. I was trying. I know we're off topic again, but I was trying to do that campfire one. I like it. I like when they talk about movies a lot. You had sent me a link to it because they were talking about the Dark Tower, and so.
Oh yeah.
Then I started going in further into the catalog and doing, because I paint, man. So I just that's all I do. I burn through audiobooks like that, you know, like
right.
Audible's like, you get the audiobook for a month, and I'm like, try me. This shit will be done in like a week, dude. 5 days, 4 days, you know? Yeah.
Well, I think yeah. So I just I don't want anyone to think that we're disappearing entirely, and
no.
But I also know that life goes on, man, and life needs to be taken care of and needs to be dealt with, and we've got other shit going on. So it's like, I mean, it's been a fucking like an honest, genuine privilege and a pleasure. And I know we keep talking about this like we're disappearing forever, but
that's because you're secretly getting ready to quit, motherfucker.
But no, they're quit sobriety, quit
recovery, podcast. No, I don't think. I think if you quit, I think if you relapsed, you would just relapse. I don't think
they would just never. Yeah, there wouldn't be a discussion about it.
I don't think you would. Yeah, like there wouldn't be a going away party where you're like, I'm gonna start drinking right now at this going away party. No, I just mean with the podcast. I was just joking though.
Right.
No, I plan on coming back. Or if you're into it, I plan on coming back and do it later on though. But
I already have. I mean, I have interviews booked for July that I'm doing. So there's more content coming, and I think we're just gonna kind of. We also need to reassess, like you and I talked about this before, about doing more media based stuff. So it's always great when an article pops up and I go, hey, let's talk about this, because it gives us more to jump off of than just each other and the same old, rhetoric back and forth. And I also I also do not want to be known as like, we're just going to talk program talk.
Right. We're not an AA podcast.
Right. Yeah. And so I think that that's important, whether we do movies or books. I know that there's a couple of books that I want to do with you, and that's just going to take time. So yeah, man. I mean, but it's really been an honor and a pleasure and a privilege, like fucking people on Patreon help us pay, they pay for this to exist as a thing in the world. And that's awesome. I can't thank those people enough.
Yeah, thank you for helping us put these up, because we wouldn't be able to host them anywhere without that.
Right.
With the exception of Apple Music, maybe.
No, I mean
iTunes.
You still need to pay for something.
Yeah. So yeah.
I mean that's huge. That's huge. So but yeah, I don't know. Is there? Well, what are your plans for the summer? Move?
We're gonna move.
Yeah.
I got to get the kid into school. I've got like 2 or 3 more I got some mural pieces going on. I've just got a lot of art to do. I've got a lot of, because now my new job is painting, I mean, tattooing will probably still stay on the table. It'll just be way the fuck over there. But and then just figure out, like, because we're going into a whole new part of Tucson, a whole new neighborhood. I got to figure out that neighborhood. I've spent 6 months getting acclimated to this part of town. So now I got to go to the other part of town. The weather will be the same, but as far as like the neighborhood, where to run, where not to run, you know, like, yeah. And then my daughter starts junior high. She starts middle school.
That's crazy.
This year, you know, and so we got to get her acclimated to a whole new school that's not Oregon. When we came here and put her in the school here, she was only doing in-person learning like 2 days out of the week, and they all had masks on, and they were, you know, everything else was online. And then they decided to go to full school. I was like, well, Olive's not vaccinated and kids can still get COVID, and I don't want her to. And it's Arizona. You know how Arizona's wild with this shit. So we fucking homeschooled her forever. So now I got to throw her back into the jaws of children.
Yeah.
So yeah. And just supporting Megan and her thing and her real estate thing and being around for her and stuff. Yeah. When she goes to show houses, I go with her a lot in the beginning. Like the first time she shows to a client, just cause I just go and hang out, you know, just, you never know, dude. Yeah. So that's what it is. It's just making a lot of art and getting a house together and hopefully getting a little podcast space or a space I can sit in where I don't have to kick her off a computer, you know?
Right. So yeah. And I'm gonna do this workshop, and I am gonna work as much as I can and make some money and pay off a couple of bills. And hopefully, I don't know. I really feel like this workshop's kind of a big deal, and it's already got me thinking like, oh, so if I can make time and I can afford to invest this time into myself, like what is the next thing? What can I do in the fall where what other class can I take, or what other kind of workshops are available? And and it's just, what's awesome is and again, a kind of correlation to recovery is you're like, all of a sudden you're in this room with all these people who are excited about this one particular thing, and everybody's super supportive and everybody's really excited. And you're like, holy shit, like maybe there's something here that I should continue with.
Yeah.
And there's not any judgment or resentment, or, I mean, well, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of judgment and resentment in the rooms, but you know, you find a good group of people.
Right.
Right. So like, oh, okay, what else is possible? Because, you know, the other thing, I don't want to fucking wait tables the rest of my life.
No, I don't think so.
My body hurts. And I was in the best shape I was in when I wasn't working. Financially, I was fucking like living on borrowed money, but I was able to exhaust my body and use it in all the best ways. And it's like, I don't need the repeated stress of waiting tables.
You gotta Rodney Dangerfield this shit, dude. You gotta go back to school, dude. You're going back to school, dude. You're gonna do the triple Lindy. Your writing class.
He does the triple Lindy. What? I don't know that. I don't.
It's that dive at the end. He was famous for doing the triple Lindy dive.
Oh,
he was back to school where he dived from 3 diving boards. Yeah, you rewatch the movie. It's a mess.
I will.
It's problematic as fuck, dude. But it's good though. It's funny. But I'm really proud of you, and it's been great to do this with you too, man. We have both helped each other out immensely throughout this whole process, because I don't think I could have worked recovery as well as I could have without you. Do you know what I mean? I think I still would have worked it, but I think to have someone I know really well to be able to bounce hard things off of, you know, has been like fucking great. It's been valuable. Very valuable, you know, to be able to have, especially someone I know who's been in the trenches with me on both ends of it, you know. You were there with me getting fucked up, and you were there with me when I was, you know, dealing with not getting fucked up, you know.
Being miserable on both ends. Yeah. I mean, for sure. And it's part of it too is, I mean, we're doing this in a public forum. And I think that is, you know, I've talked about the performative aspect of it, but also that it's been helpful for me to have it out there and to get feedback from people. And to hear from people. And it also, there's a certain level of accountability that has come with that I don't think I would have gotten if I was when we just started doing our book studies, you know, in private.
Right. And I think there's a responsibility to the things we have to be responsible for the things we say and accountable for the things we say to each other, you know, because they are going out there into the world. So yeah. And hearing that what we have discussed with each other has impacted people in some way has been really valuable too. That's been a total mind fuck, actually, to have someone write me on Instagram and be like, you did this, or you'll send me an email and you guys said this and that. And it just blows me away to think some strangers out there in the world walking around, going on their run or their walk or making dinner. And you and I are coming out of their little JBL boombox or in their earbuds. And I'm just saying some stupid shit and you're laughing at me or that's been really invaluable. This whole process has been invaluable. It's just, we're stuck.
It's just time to take a break and fucking work on some other things. And I think that I will probably, I'm sure I'll reach out to you and talk to you at some point regardless.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It doesn't always have to be because of this, and I think that, so I kind of want to leave it there unless there's something else. I mean,
I got nothing.
Just thank you, and we'll see you soon.
You yeah.
See you when I see you.
See you around.
Thanks again for listening. Our music, as always, is by Neglect. You can find more of his stuff at neglect.bandcamp.com.
And you can find us on all social media platforms that matter: Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And you can reach us at aisforalcoholic@gmail.com.
Talk to you later.
Yeah.